after last night, do you still trust Tom Brady?
I do. I don't like what I saw last night. I'll be the first to admit that. But when we talk about whether I trust him or not, I'm going to go to somebody's body of work as opposed to, what they've done in the immediate moment. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment when it comes to Tom Brady. Certainly, he was overthrowing receivers. Certainly, that he's leading the league in incompletions with 20-plus yards. I think he's got about 33 incompletions on the year. We know that's not impressive. He's completing about 25% of his passes for 15 or 20 yards plus. So we get all of that, and we understand it. And when you got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronkowski, and of course Brady, and of course Antonio Brown, there is simply no excuse for it. Tom Brady's got to get his act together because the losses that he has incurred this season has been against top quality teams. But what I would remind everybody is that he's supposed to have a veteran coach in Bruce Arians that would ask him to stop throwing those damn things. Why don't you throw some intermediate passes? Why don't you run the damn football? You've got Ronald Jones. You've got Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is no slouch. You got him there for a reason. Engage in some ball control. Move the chains. Run the damn football, for crying out loud. It's not just the receivers that are out there with your 43-year-old quarterback. It's those running backs as well. Take some of that pressure off of Tom Brady. And, oh, by the way, I'm not going to let the defense off the hook. I know numbers-wise, they're one of the top defenses in the league, led by Todd Bowles, who obviously is a stout defensive coordinator. But two of the days where they really wet the bed was when they got blown out by New Orleans. And then last night again, no pressure on Jared Goff whatsoever. He sat back, took pictures, called this lady, said, I'm coming. What time you want dinner tonight? Let's hang out afterwards, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there was just no pressure whatsoever. I mean, he was standing back there taking pictures, for crying out loud. So I look at all of those things and I'm saying this is the ultimate team sport, is it not? It's football. It's not just one side of the ball. It's three sides of the ball. It's special teams. It's defense. It's offense. It's also not just a quarterback. It's your head coach. It's your offensive coordinator. This is about the third time this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff Saturday. This is about the third time this year at least that we have looked at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and said schematically, we are not impressed with the game that's been called by Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich. We're not impressed. And so somehow, some way, they've got to get it together. The question is, do you trust that Tom Brady will? And I'm saying, even at 43, with these multitude of weapons, with what I've seen him do in good moments this year, I believe that when it's time, he will show up. You're going to have to show me differently. Until I see it, I'm not going to believe otherwise.
When we ask the question, do you still trust Tom Brady, we mean in the moment of truth, game on the line. Here's the ball. You got a minute left or something like that. Are you going to lead him down the field? That's really what we're talking about, because I have acknowledged Tom Brady can still play quarterback. At his age, it's remarkable. And yes, he has weapons all around him. Whatever you want to say about Bruce Arians right now, Bruce Arians is a well-respected and good NFL head coach, right? I know it's saying Bruce Arians is no good, or that people don't respect Bruce Arians. He has a solid reputation. So, look, do you still trust Tom Brady? They really needed a win last year in New England against Miami on the, in the last week of the season. Last game of the season, they needed that win in Miami so they could have a bye in the first round, so they could have home field. They lost to Miami. They lost to the team they needed to beat in their division. How often has that happened to the Patriots on the last game of in the last game of the season? And you can say what you want. Tom Brady didn't have weapons and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, he had a defense. He had a great head coach. So you can't point there. You have to also look at Brady. They didn't get it done, and Brady didn't get it done. This year so far, there have been some critical games against, obviously, their chief divisional rivals. They've lost them badly the second time. Against Chicago, right? Brady gets the ball back with, Nick Foles hit that receiver for the first down when he needed to. They kicked the field goal. Uh-oh, they left too much time for Tom Brady. Oh, boy, you gave Tom Brady the ball with time on the clock. Here it comes. No, it didn't. He had tough throws to make, it's true, but he didn't make them. And then he had a mental breakdown. Now, do I trust Tom Brady to rebound, to lead his team, to make sure they clean up the errors from the week before? Yeah, I trust him in that way. But I think we're talking about more than that. We're talking about the great Tom Brady, who, here it is, the moment of truth, go get it done. I haven't seen him do that in a while when they need him most. And, the reasons are obvious. He's old now. And you can point to his head coach. I mean, come on, you can't always point fingers. Last year, he didn't have weapons in New England, but he had the greatest head coach of all time. He had an elite defense, and he had a system he knew extremely well, and an offensive coordinator and all that. This year, he has every weapon you could imagine. Did you see Mike Evans after the catch yesterday? He has weapons he doesn't even know what to do with. He has so many weapons, and he has a defense. Now we're pointing to the head coach. No. Tom Brady, once upon a time, had a huge kind of advantage in decision making. The league has caught up in that way. But as it's caught up, there are lots of quarterbacks who don't make bad decisions constantly anymore, right? Like that has gotten better in the league, and it's coincided with his physical deterioration just because of age. He's not, and a league where quarterbacks can do much more now physically. So I don't think it's fair today, the day after that game, the way it ended, and by the way, it's not like it was a scoring fest. 27-24 is like a regular NFL score. I don't think you can point to the defense either. I don't think it's fair today to point fingers at people other than Tom Brady first. I think it's Brady, and I don't trust him in those moments like I used to.
You know, when you think about Tom Brady and the opportunity he had last night, like you said, under 2 minutes on the clock, you get the ball, you got a chance to go down, tie, or win the football game. You know, what are the expectations? I think as you look at it, he did not show what we've expected of Tom Brady, right? The overthrow to Brady, it wasn't even close. And I think the concern for me is, and I thought Stephen A. did a good job of bringing up the numbers. The offense and what's being asked of Tom Brady, like what are they truly asking him to do? And he's leading the league in incompletions of 20 yards and further and all those kinds of things. But it's because of what's being asked. So his eyes are now taking him into much more dangerous throws than he would have tried to attempt in New England.